Joining us now is former Georgia Congressman and Trump supporter Jack Kingston. Congressman Kingston, what is your reaction to all of this and the irony that there was so much outrage from the Democrats when Trump raised this issue before the election?
You know, Dagan, to quote Hillary Clinton, it's appalling. It's horrifying. Those were her very words, which she lectured the American people on over and over again during the campaign when Donald Trump merely said he would decide what his acceptance of the results were when it happened. And you know, he never said he would challenge it. But now we have Hillary Clinton doing it. And I think it's all about delegitimizing his election. It's about keeping the left stirred up. It's about division in America. For Jill Stein, it's relevancy, it's money, and probably she's doing a little guilt therapy that she can say, well, I realize I may have played a part in the election of Donald Trump, and so now I feel guilty about it with my wacko base, and so they're going after this. But, you know, we have serious matters in the United States of America. We need to let the transition take place. They need to follow President Obama's lead on this thing and move on to the next chapter in American history, and let's address terrorism, let's address jobs, let's address the economy and get going with the new administration. For Hillary Clinton to engage in this after she kept, again, using the words appalling and horrifying, it's just ridiculous. To me, it's offensive as an American.
Well, the Clinton campaign has seen no actionable evidence of vote hacking. They said that in the statement that came out over the weekend. And the Obama administration, in a couple of different statements, said that it had concluded that the election was free of interference, particularly related to Russian interference in the election. But, Anthony, I got to raise this issue with you. Why would Trump then tweet that millions of people voted illegally? Why would he tweet that?
Well, you got to ask Mr. Trump. I mean, the president-elect. I don't know why he tweeted.
So.
You know, look, here's what I would say. He won 306 electoral votes. He won in 2,600 counties. That's the biggest footprint. It's like a Verizon cellular map, biggest footprint since Ronald Reagan. On the Wisconsin thing, she got 33,000 votes. He got 1.4 million votes. So the fact that she's challenging that and calling for a recount is absolutely absurd. So if he's tweeting at them, he's probably upset. My guess is when he becomes president, he'll probably reduce the number of tweets that he's tweeting. But the flip side of this thing is, if it were in reverse and she was president-elect and he was doing this right now, there would be 15 media outlets that every anchor would have their hair on fire.
We should point out that if Trump would lose all three of these contested states so far, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, he would still he would not lose the election. He would have to lose. He would have to lose all three of these contested states to lose the election. And I want to point out that Nate Silver and Nate Cohn, who are both well-known political statisticians, looked at Wisconsin specifically and said there are no anomalies in that state with voting machines, because in other states that had paper ballots, there were no differences.
So the real question then for the congressman is then, why would they be doing this? What is the motivation behind this? Forget about Mr. President-elect's tweets for a second. Why are they doing it?
You know, I think for the same reason that organizations like MoveOn.org and people like George Soros encouraged these protests in the street, so people could walk around with placards and say things like, "Not my president," and so that university campuses could have safe zones, and so that people on the left could deny that the election took place because they're in such shock and emotional trauma. But the reality is President Obama has accepted the results. Hillary Clinton accepted the results. She congratulated and conceded, and now she wants to reopen it. I think all this does is divide the country and, again, delegitimize the Trump administration. We need to move on. We need to address jobs. We need to address economy. We need to address terrorism. And they're delaying that process, and I think they're stirring up wounds that don't need to take place. So I'm very, very disappointed in Clinton. But I also think the Democrat Party needs to stand up now and say, you know, look, Hillary Clinton and Jill Stein can be sore losers, but we as Democrats realize that this is just a scam. We want to move on. And so I call on Democrat leadership. Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama should go ahead and denounce this recall.
Maureen.
Yeah, Dagan, and the biggest loser in all of this are the American taxpayers who are paying for this recount, which is going to not result in any effort that will, or any, effort that will change the election. So I think we're talking about this today. Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? It's just the taxpayer ends up being the big loser because they're footing the bill for this effort.
We know why Jill Stein's doing it in part, right? This is essentially a political fundraiser, right? The millions of dollars that she's raised, she's upped the amount, and then she at one point said she couldn't guarantee that all the money would go toward recount efforts.
First of all, this is her last gasp of relevance.
Yes.
I mean, she's totally irrelevant after this election, I think. And then two, I think it's her consultant's last attempt at a money grab. They've raised more money as part of this recount effort than they did throughout the entire campaign. So, and then I think most importantly, the Democrats are in total and absolute denial. We saw the basically mental illness that swept the nation after she got beat, after Hillary Clinton got beat. I mean, if you just pulled up Facebook, I don't care who you were, you saw people crying in the streets. I mean, it looked like, their dear leader, Kim Jong-un, had died. It was so over the top and melodramatic, it was unbelievable. And they've continued to deny why she lost this election. First, it was because of bigots and racists and homophobes and all this ridiculousness. Now it's that the election was hacked. And so until Democrats come to terms with why they actually lost this election, which is that they turned their back on middle-class Americans, then I think they're going to continue to lose these elections.
Just 2 seconds on Barack. I'm sorry.
I had the honor of going to a Jill Stein rally in Philadelphia this summer, and I can tell you that her fan club worships her. They adore her, and I think that Harlan is right. She misses that relevancy. She misses that adoration, and so this gives her an opportunity one more time to be in the limelight. But unfortunately, it has been endorsed by Hillary Clinton, which gives Jill Stein a lot more legitimacy in her own, on this action.
I once worshipped Duran Duran, and that faded mercifully.
I'm still a Duran fan.
Very similar.
Just that the president, I give him a lot of credit here. He called Secretary Clinton and told her to concede. 10 minutes later, she called President-elect Trump to concede. And I give the president a lot of credit. He's following George W. Bush's footsteps in terms of the way he's handling the transition.
Absolutely.
And people from the White House have reached out to me personally, which I'm grateful for.
All right, final word, Anthony. Anthony, you're here all morning, though. I have a lot to ask you, my friend.
Yeah,
a lot.
Stuck with me.
Congressman, it was great to see you this morning. Thank you for being here.
Great to be with you.
Congressman Jack Kingston.